go here and experience something that no one else has ever experienced.
Once we arrived, we went straight to testing. It became much more real.
Seeing the people in there and the protocols that they were taking in terms of like their suits on and, you know, wiping everything down and having everybody 6 feet apart and how organized it was and just getting all the guys through.
It allows you to strictly focus on soccer. Having this tournament, now we have a goal. Now we know when we're going to play our first game. So I think it's great that we know what's ahead and we can train and prepare for it.
I think that your perspective here can drive your performance really.
You can feel the energy that guys have. Everyone's just happy to be back on the field. And so I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited for this tournament.
Scenes from Orlando, Florida. That is the setting of the MLS Is Back tournament. We have been without MLS action since March 8th, people, but that is all about to change tomorrow. It all kicks off. Every single team now in the bubble in Orlando. As you can see, they're training. They are taking full advantage of all the amenities within the bubble while also wearing their masks and adhering to all the strict safety protocols that are in place. You love to see it. But guys, it all kicks off tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Orlando City taking on their Florida rivals in Inter Miami. The wait is over, everybody. At long last, MLS is back. Before we get into it, though, we've got some updates from Orlando, some news from the bubble. First being that Carlos Vela of LAFC will not participate. He announced that yesterday on social media. Also, FC Dallas, the league has officially withdrawn them from the tournament due to COVID cases. Also, all 25 competing clubs are now in Orlando. So every single team is there. This is happening. We are doing this show, and we cannot wait. What's up, everybody? Welcome on into MLS Today, presented by AT&T. I'm Susanna Collins, and I am so happy to be reunited with my partner in crime, Kaylin Carr. It's like our good old This Week in MLS days, but, you know, virtual style. This is.
Can I just start this off and say for our first episode of MLS Today, how good it is to see you. I feel like I've been on every stream except ones that you have been on. So
I know. I think they've been keeping us apart for this moment. I think, you know, just building up the suspense. It's like we're reunited. MLS is back. Everything is great. This is crazy. This is unprecedented times. This MLS is Back tournament is one that, you know, it's a tournament that we've never seen before under these very, very strange circumstances. It hasn't been entirely smooth sailing, but it is happening. It's kicking off tomorrow. And for you, Kaylin, as a former player, I know that you are particularly excited about the format, the World Cup style format of this tournament. Why is that?
Well, I think the format is compelling, unto itself, and you know, we've seen it used all over the world, but I think specifically in MLS, it is how we decide our champion is through a playoff. This is a little bit different, obviously, with the group stages, but when you go through the group stage matches, there's a lot of rivalry matches. There's a good job, by the way. I know you were involved in the selection. you weren't necessarily, but you know, in the broadcast of it at least. But yeah, there's some good matches happening, and it's an exciting format. It's one that I think will definitely be exciting, and so that's a big part of it. I mean, March 8th, I think, was the last MLS matches. I mean, how long ago does that feel for you?
I mean, it feels like lifetimes ago, literally. Lifetimes.
And I think the next 36 hours will probably feel that way, I think, for a lot of us as well. I went on Sky Sports News earlier today to talk about the MLS Is Back tournament, and I had my phone in my hand on the other side because I was checking Twitter. I was looking for updates. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. And then, of course, the breaking news that's come out over the last 24 hours specifically in MLS circles. So a lot to monitor still as we look ahead. But hey, look, you know, we are getting closer to it, and you just kind of have to stay tuned right now.
Indeed, we are. As I mentioned earlier in the show, it all kicks off tomorrow. That first game, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, Orlando City taking on Inter Miami. And one of the things I'm looking forward to, Kaylin, is that they have promised next level production in terms of these broadcasts. So we are going to be seeing a lot more cameras, some drone shots. I'm very, very curious to see how this looks from a broadcast standpoint, because apparently it's next level. So we have that to look forward to.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting. That's been the one thing that we've seen kind of when you reference other leagues. What has the Bundesliga done as far as how they have integrated? Some stadiums have integrated fans in sort of digital avatars, and then you watch the Premier League and you have the option of whether you like the sound or the lack of sound. And so it will be interesting to see what MLS's take on all that is. Mm-hmm. And then I think for anybody who watches this sport, the more cameras, the better. So the idea that there's going to be a bunch of cameras, some close-ups can bring you closer to the action, is something I think will be a welcome sight for all fans.
Absolutely. Well, guys, stick around, because coming up we have an exclusive interview with Luis Robles, goalkeeper for Inter Miami. You don't want to miss that. But let's get into the big news of the day, and that is obviously the league withdrawing FC Dallas from the tournament. This statement from Don Garber: given the impact of the number of positive tests on the club's ability to train and play competitive matches, we have made the decision to withdraw FC Dallas from the MLS Is Back tournament. The health of everyone involved in our return to play has always been our top priority, and we will continue to make decisions consistent with that priority. And then here is a statement from FC Dallas head coach Luchi Gonzalez. He says, as we continue to focus on the well-being of our players, coaches, and staff who are in isolation in Orlando, we understand it is not in their best interest to compete at this time. While we're disappointed, the health and safety of our traveling delegation as well as our league partners is our highest priority. So, that being said, Kaylin, obviously this is not what the league wanted. This is not what FC Dallas wanted. But under the circumstances and in adhering to all of the safety protocols that are in place, I believe this was the right move. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no choice. You have to put the health and safety first for the players. Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, I know everyone in the soccer community right now is thinking about FC Dallas, and we know that coronavirus is a very serious pandemic and novel disease. So you want to make sure that these guys are able to recover and that they're okay. That's I mean, It's so people forget that these athletes are players but also people as well.
Humans,
and so,
yes.
This is you have to think it from a human perspective first, and I think the idea that this team is withdrawn from the tournament is the right move for them, for their safety. I think for the health and safety of the other players in Orlando, and keeping everybody in mind. So I think really the right move. Disappointing, as you said, and scary for those players that have been impacted, and the staff as well. So I think not the decision you want to take, but really the only one that was possible to take at the moment.
Absolutely. Just want to note here, too, that Dallas did say they would cooperate with MLS and local officials to return the club to Frisco safely. So that they're in the process of that right now. But let's look at Group B, okay? So we have to remove Dallas from the equation here. Kaylin, when you look at this group now, is there a team? I mean, we have to remember Dallas they squeaked into the postseason last year. They were a young, talented team showing a lot of promise. But perhaps this now opens the door for another team to emerge and have a big moment in this tournament. Who would you say that team? Which team benefits from Dallas not being there?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't think if you're asking any player on any of those teams, you want to play against everybody and have them there. So, but I think in this case, I had picked Dallas to advance from this Group B. I think Seattle is the clear favorite with their, being the champions of last season and just with the strength and way they've actually added to the strength of their team over the offseason. So, but I think this makes way for San Jose. I think, Vancouver is still a team that's in flux. San Jose showed real promise in the season last year under Almeida and then kind of faded down the stretch, but have some real experience, as we know, through Chris Wondolowski and others, and then I think have a style of play that I think will suit this tournament well based on their individual man marking scheme that can cause problems for teams and capitalize on mistakes, which I think you may see in this tournament early on. When you look around the globe, the mistakes happen, especially when you're just restarting things up and getting your rhythm. So I think a team like San Jose could do well in that circumstance.
All right, and just to note as well, and in terms of the schedule, the league has announced that these games are being postponed, so they will likely make them up at a later date once the tournament is over and the regular season can continue. So that is the information that we have right now. But let's move it along to the other news that we received yesterday, and that is from Carlos Vela of LAFC announcing that he will not be participating in the MLS Is Back tournament. He released this statement on social media saying, "I would like nothing more than to be with my teammates in Orlando. However, it is in the best interest of the health of my family to stay home and be with my wife during what is a risky pregnancy." Now, Kaylin, you had hit on this earlier when you were talking about athletes as humans, right? It's so easy to get caught up in the way we talk about these guys simply doing their jobs, but they are human, and he has made a decision based solely on the needs of his family and his wife, who is pregnant with their second child. And as disappointing as it will be to not see Carlos Vela out on the pitch for LAFC, and as difficult that will be for LAFC without him, I can only respect his decision here.
Absolutely. I mean, just even showing the highlights, you get a window back to how special of a player he is. I mean, clearly the best player in Major League Soccer. I've said it again and again. I don't really think it's all that close at all. Disappointing not to see him in the tournament, but at the same time, yes, absolutely 100% support him and his decision to do what's best for him and his family. And I know that his teammates would support him. I know the club, the league, and the supporters will be behind him as well. And I'm hoping that, he stays safe. His family, his growing family is safe and well. And then when Carlos is ready to come back, and hopefully when we all are ready to return to our home markets, and you and I get to maybe spend some time together in real life, we'll be ready for that. But yeah, I mean, this is something that's happening across leagues, across the world, where certain players here, certain players there have different circumstances, and to acknowledge them, to respect them, and support them, I think is really the only way to go.
100%. Well, what does this mean for LAFC? How do they fare without Carlos Vela? Our friends at Extra Time weighed in on what this could look like. Let's hear from them. We lost Steve.
Diego Rossi has been on fire.
Right.
Just doesn't look like he's lost any sharpness. His fitness is through the roof. I mean, he just keeps progressing. And so they're like, we're happy with him. We think he's going to excel. He's the right man for the job. Brian Rodriguez, where he gains all of this momentum heading into the tournament, is now you don't have that obligation to always find Carlos Vela, to always make space for Carlos Vela, to always think about Carlos Vela when you're attacking, because you don't want to make him mad. You don't want to, not get him the ball when he's in the right spot, because, then you start generating those conversations where I don't like when he's on the field because he's not finding me when I'm in a good spot. So now you can play freely. You don't have to think about always finding the best player or the playmaker. You can be the playmaker and you can create for yourself. So that's going to be the biggest difference. It's like what we saw with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Everyone was trying to cater to Zlatan and change the way they play. When he was off the field, sometimes you're like, wow, this is the LA Galaxy you want to see. They were free-flowing, interchanging. There wasn't this need to just lump balls forward or play to Zlatan at every opportunity. So I do think Brian Rodriguez is going to show this tournament and excel, but Diego Rossi could probably make a case for himself to be the player of the tournament, as well as his dream move to Europe if that's an opportunity for him.
All right, so Kaylin, Charlie basically saying that with Vela not being there, this opens the door for guys like Diego Rossi and Brian Rodriguez. Do you agree with his take?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I agree in that sense, because I don't know if the comparison to Zlatan is necessarily apt in this case. I don't think Vela has the same sort of inertia that the ball sort of draws to him at all the time. I think the way that Bob's system is set up really is to kind of it's more about the sum of the parts. It really is about the system and moving the ball in different spaces, and then allowing Vela to kind of create and break the mold from within that system. It's interesting. I do agree with Charlie on the other side, though, that it will be on Rossi and Rodriguez to step up here. And the interesting part too is when you look at the number 9 position, it's not necessarily a simple answer. They have Bradley Wright Phillips, but he's kind of coming back to health still.
Yeah.
Has, I think, from all reports, shown that he still has a lot left in the tank. I think he's been a fantastic pickup for them, but may not be ready to go from the start. Diamande as well. And then you have a couple other options, but the one that Bob hinted at was Latif Blessing up top, which I thought was really interesting. I mean, Latif has been a guy that has played on the wing in his career. He's moved inside so brilliantly, made that adjustment outside back. But the idea of playing him as sort of like a false 9, I thought was really interesting in a lot of ways. And I know Bob always uses different analogies and references around global football, but it made me think of when Spain used Cesc Fabregas as a number 9 and played with basically just a billion midfielders, and how that actually worked for Spain, and that he was able to really come in, facilitate. We know how good he is, how he understands all these different positions within the system. So that will be definitely something I'll be keeping an eye on as far as how LAFC lines up.
Love it. All right, well, let's take a look at Group F. When this was announced, this group, I just remember looking at it and being like, mercy, because you look at these teams, Galaxy, Houston, LAFC, Portland. I mean, I just thought this is straight fire. Do you think now, and I had LAFC finishing first, top of this group. Does that change now, Kaylin, when you take out Carlos Vela?
I don't think so. I mean, anything is possible here, but I think LAFC still have to be the favorites, even without Vela. And that's really a testament to how that team has been built and how fantastic they have been. So I think even without Vela, LAFC is the clear favorite. I think after that, for me, it's wide open. Many people have just immediately penciled in and anointed right when the schedule comes out, LAFC and LA Galaxy, El Tráfico, and all that comes with it. And I know everyone will still be really excited to watch that match, but I think it's a lot closer below LAFC. And now without Vela, the pack itself is a lot more muddled than you might have thought to begin with. I mean, Savarese is a really good manager, and especially in tournament formats and preparing his team. And then I think Houston Dynamo will be a tough out for sure. They've given the Galaxy problems. I was at that opening day when it was a 0-0 draw at home. Neither team really played very well, but I like what Tab has done with that group. And just the heat and humidity, I know from coming from Houston, Orlando, I think that will be an advantage for that group as well. And then the Galaxy, yes, they have a ton of talent led by Pavone and with Chicharito as well up front. That goes down through Sebastian Lletget. But they're missing Jonah Dos Santos, who I think is such a crucial part of how that team moves from back to front and him protecting the back four. And then it hasn't quite gelled for them yet. They haven't gotten Chicharito off the mark. I still think there's a little bit more work to do there for them to gel, and not a lot of time to do it. So I think this group is a lot more open than people might think.
wait is almost over. MLS returns tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Orlando City taking on Inter Miami on ESPN. You don't want to miss it. We can't wait.
And now our AT&T call to the field brings us down to Orlando to speak with Inter Miami goalkeeper Luis Robles. Luis, great to have you on, man.
It's great to be on. Thanks for having me. Do you mind if I take my mask off? Is it okay?
Yes, you can take it off now.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for following protocol. And yeah, hey man, it's good to see
safe.
you. Mask or not, of course. So I guess just to begin with, what has been the experience for you so far, like in Orlando, as you prepare for this tournament?
It feels like preseason. We've been here since Wednesday, so this is our 5th day. And I think what's been really positive about it is when you look at the extended period of time that we were quarantined, you missed all the camaraderie, all the banter that goes on in the locker room. So for the last few days, it's been really nice to be able to hang out in the players' lounge, play cards, socialize, compete, banter. But I think the best part about it is, unlike preseason, my body isn't super sore because they limit our training time. And since we can't do double days, our coaches can't punish us that much.
Wow, I had not considered that, the idea of, nobody wants to do preseason twice, especially with double days. So, yeah.
Oh, definitely not. Not at my age. I barely want to do preseason once.
I know you were involved a lot in the negotiations to get MLS Back Tournament underway. What were some of the biggest concerns from the players heading into the tournament? And how have you seen maybe some of those things take shape, and how are you feeling about it overall now?
I think first and foremost, the biggest concern for us is the safety of the players. We wanted to make sure that we were in an environment that doesn't compromise the health and safety of the player pool. And I know there's been a lot of back and forth and a lot of, in a sense, learning on the fly because, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're the first major American men's sports league to be back, and we're the first one to be in this sort of environment. And so there isn't a playbook for this. And I think even as the tournament continues, it's always going to be about that. Players feeling safe, being able to be in the best environment possible to be healthy, to compete.
Absolutely, man. Well, as a former player and just as a fan now, I echo those sentiments. I know the fans also feel the same way, and everyone does, to make sure that you guys are healthy and safe. And yes, of course, we want to watch you play, and we're excited to do that. But your health and safety should be priority number one always. So we'll have to stay on top of that, monitor it, as we know. All of the clubs and people in Orlando are looking right now. As you look forward towards returning to play and towards the first match, you guys will be hosting it, and it'll be, well, I don't know about hosting it. It's hard to say. It's hard to say there's a host, but you will be playing against, I guess, technically the host club with Orlando City, and in a match that people have been waiting for a long time. As it gets closer, and it's right upon us now, have you allowed yourself to get excited for this match, and what are you expecting from it?
It's all kind of strange, if I'm being completely honest, even because of what I just said, the preseason feel. Like, for example, over the years, playing in Major League Soccer, you either go down to IMG or parts of Florida, or you go a lot of times to southeastern Arizona. And in that preseason format, you interact with a lot of teams that you'd play during the season. And so that's sort of what's going on here is as you walk in the hallway, even though you're keeping your distance and you have your mask on, you're seeing a lot of the people that you're going to play against. And then to think that in a couple of days we're going to play a competitive match, I don't know if I've processed all of it. The one thing that's really nice is that we have been able to train as a team for the last couple of weeks. And with that, I mean, Kaylin, it's one thing to train and train and train, but there has to be an objective. There has to be an end goal. Well, we're finally starting to realize that end goal. And Wednesday, when we play against Orlando, the first match of the tournament, I think all of our preparation will start to really kick in. So I think for me, maybe right now it hasn't necessarily sunk in that it's the first game against Orlando, and it's the first game in basically a while since Florida MLS teams have played against one another. But I'm sure after training today, after our coach goes over some of the tactics that we're going to deploy and we start to understand a little bit, or become a little bit more familiar with Orlando, it really starts to become more and more real.
Yeah, when you mention preseason, the results at first don't seem to matter much, right? Because you're building, you have to work your way into it. But in
I
this
think at
case,
first you
it's
just like, don't get hurt, right? Yeah.
Or don't lose to the U17s or concede a goal or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But in this case, the results do matter, and in a tournament format, what are the challenges, or how important is it to get off to a good start amidst this kind of like quick start to be able to try and advance into the tournament and to get off onto a good foot?
I mean, Kayla, if I'm being honest, this is unfamiliar territory for me. I've never been in this sort of setup, but I imagine from what I've observed, getting off to a great start is going to be massive, because you're going to build momentum, the team is going to have a great feel, and you're hoping that you just continue to build off of that. I guess we have no excuse for the circumstances, because everyone's dealing with the same circumstances. And actually, there's probably some teams around the league, such as like a San Jose, where they just trained for the first time coming down to Orlando. I think both Florida teams have been able to prepare a little bit longer than other places. But the thing that I'm pretty confident of is, just like the way I feel, my team is going to feel the moment we step across that line and the whistle blows, the competitor in us will all come out, and we're going to be up for it, and we're going to do everything that we can to make this game historic for us, because this franchise has only played 2 games, and though we played competitively the first 2 games, we've yet to get points, and we've yet to get a win. So we're looking for not only the first points in Inter Miami history, but the first win as well.
You guys had 2 matches already, so not a ton of time, and I thought showed some really bright moments, even though maybe the results didn't reflect that. What's one thing that you've seen maybe from the side that hasn't quite shown on the pitch that you'd like to see during this tournament? And also, when you look ahead at the tournament, what's one thing that you could say, if we get this done, that would be successful?
Well, I mean, the ultimate success is winning this thing. But
okay.
When
I wanted you to say it, not me.
Not to put any pressure on us, but anything.
Sure.
When I think about those first 2 games, first off, they feel like ages ago, right? And yet, as we prepare for the next part of our season, it just feels like the next season. But really thinking about those first 2 games, we felt like we were in it. We were in it to get points for both, and in the end, we didn't end up getting the result that we wanted. And so we're still lacking in familiarity. We're still lacking in the way that we want to carve out an identity and the way that we want to play. And as we continue to focus on the good things, we're hoping that the momentum that comes with that sort of positivity and becoming more familiar with one another will translate to those points, to that sort of success. And for us, if we want to put some sort of measurement of success in the tournament, we want to advance. But I think first things first, we want to get the first win for this franchise, for our fans, for our supporters. And I can't think of a better team than Orlando City.
I went to the Orlando All-Star Game last year, or the MLS All-Star Game in Orlando, and I was walking in down the block, and all of a sudden this bus unloads, and it's an entire bus full of Inter Miami fans. And they got the pink smoke going and the drums, and I was like, oh, wow, these guys are ready. And this was, a while ago now. What's been your impression so far? I know they won't be there to support you in person, but just from being in the community, being around it, and the response of the excitement of the supporters.
It's been incredible, and I'm sure that's the same way you felt when you saw that. It's something that probably took you by surprise, and I think in the same sense there has been such a pleasant surprise with the passion that's down here in South Florida. They've been waiting a long time, and I know that I'll be here and I'll be gone. That's just the way it is with players. But those supporters, the passion that they bring to this organization is going to be here for a long time. So I think for me, it's really important that I represent them in the best way possible by leading the locker room, by leading the team on the field, and doing everything I can to not only make them proud, but help them get one step closer to realizing their dream of holding trophies and being able to say very proudly that they are supporters of Inter Miami.
Okay, Lise. Well, thanks so much for joining me today, and I will let you get back to your social distancing routine with the mask and all. But it was good to take a break from the mask and have a chat. Best of luck in the tournament, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Great stuff from Luis Robles. Always insightful. Kalen, you did a great job on that interview, by the way, buddy. That was fantastic. Just a reminder. You're a pro, the ultimate pro. You guys can watch Luis Robles and Inter Miami take on Orlando City. That game tomorrow. It kicks off the MLS Is Back Tournament, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Oh, my goodness. One more sleep until MLS is officially back, y'all. We cannot wait. Guys, you are going to want to join us every single day, 11 a.m. Kaylin and I will be here. You can watch on MLS's Twitter and Facebook, as well as MLSsoccer.com. MLS Today, presented by AT&T. Our first episode, Kaylin, in the books. How do you feel?
Good, Suze. This was a good start. Always good chatting with you, good hanging, and yeah, I'm excited we get to do this every day.
Same here, buddy. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. We will see you guys 11 a.m. tomorrow. Have a good one.